Imagine a time when fragmentation gave way to unity, when darkness yielded to illumination. Imagine an era in the heart of ancient India where science and spirituality, art and literature, blossomed together in an extraordinary symphony of human achievement. This wasn't just another dynasty, it was an age of profound cultural confidence, intellectual ferment, and artistic brilliance, an age that historians would later call golden. This is the story of the Gupta Empire, a period when India, luminous and self-assured, created foundations that would shape its identity for centuries to come. Join us as we journey back to witness the dawn, the zenith, and the enduring glow of India's classical golden age. Our story begins in the fertile plains of Magadha, the historical heartland of empires, around the early 4th century CE. The preceding centuries had seen powerful empires like the Mauryas fade, followed by periods of regional kingdoms and foreign rulers like the Kushanas. North India was a mosaic of powers. Stability was elusive. Yet from this very region, the seeds of a new unifying force were being sown. A local ruler named Ghatotkacha paved the way, but it was his son, Chandragupta I, who truly laid the dynastic foundation around 320 CE. His reign marked a pivotal moment. Through strategic vision and, critically, a powerful marital alliance with the influential Lichavi clan, marrying Princess Kumaradevi Chandragupta, I elevated his status significantly. He assumed the grand title Maharajadiraja, King of Great Kings, signaling ambitions far beyond a minor principality. This wasn't just a marriage, it was the bedrock upon which an empire would be built, uniting prestige and power. Though his direct rule may have been confined to the Ganges heartland, Chandragupta I lit the spark. He forged the initial nucleus, establishing Pataliputra, modern-day Patna, as his capital, a city destined once again to become the nerve center of a vast empire. He set the stage, creating the political momentum and dynastic legitimacy that his successor would harness to spectacular effect. The first chapter of the Golden Age had begun, written not just with swords, but with shrewd alliances and imperial dreams. If Chandragupta I laid the foundation, his son Samudragupta built the grand edifice. A ruler of extraordinary energy and diverse talents, Samudragupta ascended the throne around 335 CE and embarked on a series of brilliant military campaigns that dramatically expanded the empire. Our knowledge of his conquests comes vividly from the Prayaga Prashasti, a eulogy inscribed on an ancient Ashoka pillar in Allahabad, composed by his court poet Harisena. The pillar inscription paints a picture of relentless conquest. It speaks of Samudragupta violently uprooting rulers in the north, absorbing their kingdoms directly into the growing empire. It describes his southern campaigns, where he defeated numerous kings, but, in a display of political pragmatism, often reinstated them as vassals, content with their tribute and allegiance. His campaigns reached far east, towards Assam and Bengal, and secured the submission of tribal republics and frontier kingdoms. He was a unifier, weaving a vast network of direct rule and tributary states under Gupta supremacy. Yet, Samudragupta was far more than just a warrior king. The same inscription praises his sharp intellect, his patronage of learning, and his mastery of music and poetry, calling him Kaviraja, king of poets. He is depicted on his gold coins not only as a conqueror, but also as a musician, gracefully playing the veena. He performed the ancient Ashvamedha sacrifice, the horse sacrifice, a ritual symbolizing undisputed imperial sovereignty. Samudragupta embodied a powerful ideal, the ruler skilled in both the arts of war and the refinements of culture, expanding the empire's borders while nurturing its soul. He transformed his father's kingdom into a dominant imperial power, setting the stage for the absolute zenith of Gupta glory. The empire forged by Samudragupta reached its cultural and territorial peak under his son Chandragupta II, who reigned from roughly 375 to 415 CE. Known popularly by his title Vikramaditya, meaning son of prowess, his era is often considered the heart of the Gupta Golden Age. Building upon the stability established by his father, Chandragupta II oversaw a period of relative peace, immense prosperity, and an unparalleled flourishing of arts, literature, and science. While perhaps less militarily focused than his father, Chandragupta II was strategically astute. He further consolidated the empire, notably defeating the Western Shaka satraps who had ruled parts of Western India for centuries. This victory gave the Guptas control over wealthy ports like Barigaza or Baruch on the western coast, opening up lucrative maritime trade routes with the Mediterranean world and West Asia. These routes, in turn, flooded the empire with wealth and cosmopolitan influences. Diplomatic marriages like his daughter Prabhavati Gupta's marriage to the Vakataka king also secured stability in the Deccan. We get a fascinating glimpse into life during his reign from the records of the Chinese Buddhist pilgrim Faxian, also known as Faxian, who traveled through India seeking authentic Buddhist scriptures. Faxian describes a generally prosperous and well-governed land. He notes the rarity of capital punishment, the prevalence of charitable institutions and hospitals, the safety of the roads, and the flourishing of both Buddhism and Hinduism. While his account is through the lens of a Buddhist pilgrim and might idealize certain aspects, it paints a picture of a relatively peaceful, orderly society administered with moderation. Legend has it that Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya's court, possibly centered at the vibrant city of Ujjain, was graced by the celebrated Navaratnas, the Nine Jewels, a group of exceptionally talented scholars and artists. Now, while the historicity of this specific group is still debated, it stands as a powerful symbol of the immense intellectual and artistic patronage of the era. Figures like the incomparable poet and playwright Kalidasa, the brilliant astronomer Aryabhata, and possibly experts in medicine, grammar, and lexicography are often linked to this golden period. Vikramaditya's court was, in essence, a magnet for talent, a place where intellect and creativity were deeply nurtured and celebrated. This contributed immensely to the era's glowing reputation. His reign, in many ways, represents the mature, prosperous, and culturally dazzling high noon of the Gupta Empire. The stability and prosperity under the Guptas truly created fertile ground for an unprecedented blossoming of intellectual and artistic life. This era, it witnessed breakthroughs and refinements that left an enduring mark not just on India, but honestly, on the entire world. In the realms of mathematics and astronomy, Gupta-era thinkers made some truly revolutionary strides. The concept of zero or shunya as a placeholder and a numeral in its own right, along with the decimal system, evolved into the form we still use today. Innovations that, fundamentally transformed mathematics on a global scale. The genius astronomer and mathematician Aryabhata, writing in the late 5th century but embodying the spirit of this era, calculated a remarkably accurate value for pi. He explained lunar and solar eclipses scientifically, proposed that the Earth rotates on its axis, and even speculated about a heliocentric model of the solar system, centuries before Copernicus. This was truly an age of rational inquiry and mathematical brilliance. Medicine also reached sophisticated heights. While texts like the Charaka Samhita, which focused on internal medicine, were compiled over centuries, the Gupta period saw their refinement. The Sushruta Samhita, with its incredible descriptions of surgical procedures, including cataract removal, rhinoplasty, or plastic surgery of the nose, and complex operations using specialized instruments, stands as a testament to the advanced state of medical knowledge and surgical skill practiced during this era. Literature flourished, particularly in classical Sanskrit. This was the age of Kalidasa, often called the Shakespeare of India. His plays, like The Recognition of Shakuntala and poems like The Cloud Messenger, are celebrated for their lyrical beauty, emotional depth, and mastery of language. They remain masterpieces of world literature to this day. Other playwrights and poets also thrived, creating a rich body of both secular and religious works. The great Hindu epics, the Mahabharata and Ramayana, reached something close to their final forms during this time. And the Puranas, which narrated genealogies of gods, kings, and cosmologies, were extensively compiled, shaping what we now know as popular Hinduism. The artistic achievements of the Gupta period are absolutely breathtaking. Sculpture reached a classical zenith, particularly in the depiction of the Buddha. The Sarnath school produced images of sublime serenity, spiritual grace, and perfect form, while the Mathura school continued its own vibrant tradition. Painting also achieved unparalleled excellence, most famously in the murals of the Ajanta caves. Although spanning centuries, some of the finest work in these caves belongs to this era, depicting Buddhist Jataka tales and courtly life with extraordinary dynamism, detail, and emotional expression. Early structural temples dedicated to Hindu gods began to emerge as well, laying the groundwork for the grand temple architecture that would follow in later centuries. And let's not forget metallurgy, the astonishing iron pillar of Delhi, dating to this period, stands outdoors even today, virtually rust-free. It's truly a marvel of ancient Indian ironworking skill. Oh, this cultural explosion wasn't accidental, you know. It was fueled by peace, prosperity, active royal patronage, vibrant urban centers, and extensive trade networks that brought wealth and stimulated intellectual exchange. The Gupta Golden Age was truly a time when the Indian genius shone brightly across diverse fields of human endeavor. So, what was life like for ordinary people during this golden age? Based on accounts like Faxian's and artistic depictions, Gupta society seems to have been relatively prosperous and peaceful, especially in the core regions. Agriculture formed the backbone of their economy, trade flourished, and urban centers thrived as hubs of craft production and commerce. Guilds or shrinis played an important role in organizing crafts and trade activities. While the society was generally stable, it was structured by the caste system, or Varna and Jati. As Faxian observed, this included practices like untouchability for certain groups performing what were considered impure tasks. The Golden Age, like all ages, could not last forever. The successors of Chandragupta II faced growing challenges that gradually eroded the empire's foundations. Kumaragupta I, who succeeded his father around 415 CE, enjoyed a long reign and largely maintained the empire's vast extent. He even performed the Ashvamedha sacrifice, a symbol of imperial power. Coins and inscriptions from his time suggest that prosperity continued, at least initially. However, towards the end of his reign, clouds began to gather on the northwestern horizon. Nomadic groups from Central Asia, known collectively as the Hunas, began to press upon the empire's frontiers. These were related to the Huns who troubled Europe around the same period. The decades following Skandagupta saw the gradual disintegration of the empire. Later rulers bearing the Gupta name controlled ever-shrinking territories primarily around the old heartland of Magadha. Powerful dynasties like the Maitrakas in the west and the Maukharis in the north emerged as independent forces. The constant pressure, the loss of revenue from distant provinces, and the rise of local ambitions fractured the imperial unity that had been built over generations. Pataliputra, the once glorious capital, slowly lost its preeminence. By the middle of the 6th century CE, the great Gupta Empire, which had presided over India's golden age, had effectively ceased to exist as a unified imperial power. The political landscape reverted to a pattern of regional kingdoms, yet the cultural and intellectual legacy of the Gupta era continued to illuminate the path forward. The golden light had faded, but its warmth and brilliance had irrevocably shaped the soul of India. Why do we call the Gupta era golden? It wasn't necessarily golden for everyone, nor was it without its challenges. But its legacy shines brightly through the ages. The Gupta period established enduring templates for Indian art, literature, architecture, and philosophy. The classical elegance of the Sarnath Buddhas became iconic. Kalidasa's Sanskrit works remain pinnacles of poetic expression. And the mathematical innovations, particularly the decimal system and the concept of zero, are fundamental contributions to global science and mathematics, gifts from India to the world. The consolidation of Puranic Hinduism during this era shaped religious practices that continue to this day. The Gupta rulers' patronage of diverse intellectual pursuits created a model for enlightened governance. Their achievements in metallurgy, medicine, and town planning speak to a highly sophisticated civilization. This era represents a remarkable synthesis, blending indigenous traditions with new influences, fostering innovation while respecting ancient wisdom. The Gupta Empire may have declined politically, but its cultural and intellectual glow endures. It stands as a testament to a time when creativity soared, knowledge expanded, and India forged classical standards of beauty and thought that continue to inspire awe and define its rich heritage. The Golden Age wasn't just a period in history, it remains a luminous benchmark of civilizational achievement, forever radiating its influence across time. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe Past Matter for awesome historic content. See you in the next video.